What? They make me look smarter. Or so Mama says. Well, hello there, everybody. I'm Photo Dave. This is Toypixx. These are some of my favorite army builders, and today we're actually not going to be talking about toy photography. We're instead going to be talking about the big H. Yes, we're talking about Hasbro. So sit back, grab a beverage, and let's chat. You know, a little bit of one-on-one time between me and me. Now, this is kind of a hard one to start off with. I keep trying to figure out where should I exactly start with talking about all this. Let's just start with the 1,000 layoffs that are planned and have already begun. I know that all these teams that we care about on the action figure side of things, I know that all these teams get it from all sides, and I would be willing to bet you, I'm not 100%, but I've done design work, obviously not toy design work, but design work. Designers are designers. I would be willing to bet you that the vast majority of designers at Hasbro want to make what we want. They want to make the really cool stuff, but they're hampered, and they're hampered big time. Let's imagine for a second the Star Wars brand team, because they seem to get probably the most crap out there out of everybody that's working there, that's at least publicly facing teams for all of us. You're on the Star Wars brand team, right? You realize that CEOs got to answer to shareholders, all that stuff has to happen. You realize that, okay, we know that. You have to answer to Lucasfilm, which is kind of a pain in the butt, it sounds like, because Lucasfilm has to approve everything. And you have to answer to the money person in, I would assume there's maybe a money person in each department. I'm not 100%. So you're a designer working on this stuff. You've got all these different masters, and you go into the money person and you say, hey man, I think we could make this incredible Jesse figure, this awesome Clone Wars Jesse. And the money person says, okay, show me what you got. And they lay it out, and the money person says, you know what, we've got the Phase 2 helmet, we've got the body, let's do it, let's go for it. And then Lucasfilm comes in and says, whoa, 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 we're going to need you maybe to do those Phase 2 clones because this is coming, so let's do that. And so now, where the designer before was thinking to themselves, sweet, we're going to put the proper helmet on Jesse, do all this good stuff, now Lucasfilm has stepped in and said, okay, we're going to need this to happen, so that tooling is not available while it's being used on whatever Lucasfilm. Now, I'm not saying that's what happened. I'm not 100% on any of it, but I'd be willing to bet you when you see a figure like Ki-Adi-Mundi, I'd be willing to bet you not only do they actually give a crap, but they have far too many masters to serve. For me, as a designer, I'd be thinking, oh man, life would be so much easier if I could just say, screw the shareholders, screw the CEO, screw Lucasfilm, and screw all the people on the internet that just keep complaining about what we're doing, because literally we're doing everything we're allowed to do to the best of our ability. And I truly think that's what's going on. I think they have far too many masters to serve. And let's even go a little further here, right? Okay. Now we're the money person. And somebody goes to the money person and says, hey, I've got this great idea. It's going to cost a little extra in tooling, but we can make this happen. I'm sure that people are going to eat this up, that the consumers, the fans, they're going to love this bad boy. And the money person totally agrees. He sees this and says, yep, I'm in. I think that's great. The problem is we already went over budget here, so we can't do that. And now the designer is just totally dejected, and the money person is thinking, I have to just drink myself under the table at this point because they know that they're hampering these people and all that. And on top of all this, now you've got all these things that say the Star Wars team is dealing with, and now there's insane layoffs that seem like they could probably be arbitrary. It could just be, okay, for us to make the numbers, we have to can the people that make salary between this and this. Don't worry, we can just make up a reason why they have to go. I'm not worried about HR. And they can do that. It's tricky, but it is possible. These things can happen. And so I'm sitting back thinking to myself, I gotta give these people a break. Like, who knows what kind of stress they're under? Who knows just the insane pressure? Can you imagine, truly, think about the Star Wars team and think to yourselves, how many people on that design team actually thought, you know what I think's a great idea? The Reva lightsaber. Let's give everybody a Reva lightsaber. I know, we don't know anything about the character. Maybe she'll flop. Maybe they won't actually start developing her character in the 6-episode series until episode 5. But maybe they'll nail it and everybody will love her. We know how that worked, but that's kind of the point here with that sort of thing. As an employee at Hasbro, you've got all this stuff going on. You've got constant stress because, holy crap, what if I'm next? I think we need to lay off the people because we don't know. I don't know what all's going on behind the scenes. So I can't say that everybody who's watching this doesn't know. There might be somebody watching this and saying, no, man, that's exactly how it works. Or there might be somebody watching this and saying, that's not at all how it works, but hey, thanks. And it's not shilling. I'm not sitting here saying we should buy everything that they put out. I still will only buy the figures I really dig. But I do think we have to give them a break. I think our real trouble is at the top. I know. Let's go to the charts. This is a chart of the Hasbro stock price. Now, Brian Goldner was hired in 2008. You can see what happened since he had been hired, or since he was hired. He built that thing in a massive way. Now, obviously, people underneath him were a big help, but if you don't have great leadership at the top, what you're seeing here isn't going to happen. This is phenomenal leadership to be able to build it as quickly as he did, honestly. It's pretty nuts. And you could make the argument that it was on its way towards achieving exponential growth before he was ever even brought in. But keep in mind that he was still one of the big time, I believe he was an executive producer on the Transformers movie in 2007 before he was brought in as CEO of Hasbro. So he was already making very large moves to help the company out. So I'm thinking that he had an awful lot to do with this, and the plans he had in place, things that were working, while we're all very aware of some flops in the Transformers and G.I. Joe franchise, you can see that things were really climbing. And then we've got, in another one here, we see where that big time dip happened. It was March 2020. That's when the pandemic hit. We you look at that stuff and you kind of expect that dip, but then look how quickly he rebounded. He started building it back up till almost where it was before. Not quite, but he was well on his way, and that was during a pandemic. This is during a time when this guy was fighting prostate cancer. It wasn't record highs, but you could see that they were in the right place, and then you see in October, he steps down as CEO, and one day later, he dies. And you can see what has happened since he stepped down and since he died. This thing has tanked. Now, here's what a great leader of any organization does. A great leader is someone who understands that you have to take care of your people. And if you take care of your people, Richard Branson basically said this, I'm paraphrasing, but if you take care of your people will take care of the consumer. And we were having a hard time during the pandemic when it came to pre-orders. People were coming in and swooping things up and going like mad. We were fighting bots, all that stuff. But that was kind of unprecedented stuff that was going on. Goldner was fighting cancer at the same time. He was probably working on trying to get things a little better because he knew taking care of my people will make it so my people want to make the experience and everything better for our consumers. And since he's been gone, when Chris Cox, I don't remember exactly, I didn't look at the timeline for how long it took him to become CEO, but you can see what's happening. And when you see a huge drop like this, you start to think, holy crap, this guy is an awful leader. When Goldner was in charge, he probably could keep the shareholders off his back for the most part because he was making them money. He was doing a great job for shareholders. Chris Cox is not doing a great job for shareholders. He's dropping the axe on all kinds of employees. With Goldner and with a great leader, you're going to have your people's backs. Now, I'm sure there's stories at Hasbro about how Goldner didn't have somebody's back and he decided, yeah, they just have to go. But overall, as an organization, a great leader is going to have people's backs. And that's what leads to great products. Here we are with Chris Cox, who is obviously, by what we're looking at when it comes to the stock price, by what's happening at Hasbro right now, this guy might know dollars and dimes. He doesn't know leadership. And I'd be willing to stake an awful lot on what I just said there. I believe wholeheartedly that that's very true. Because what's going on is he doesn't have the backs of his people. And because of that, they're scared. They're scared. They're freaking out. They don't know what's happening next. They're scared with words that I probably can't say on a family YouTube channel. But add that, look at the Star Wars example I gave earlier where I talked about the constant stress of everything else, and even with the firings going on now, add that to the uncertainty of what's going to happen to leadership. Add that to all the stress all the teams have, and not just action figure, but all across the company, where they're going, oh gosh, what's next? What's going to happen? They're freaking out. And they probably should be. I'll tell you this right now. I would not want myself to be working at Hasbro. I just wouldn't want to do it. I see what's going on right now, and I'm thinking unless the board steps in, and unless a lot of people step in and say, Chris Cox, you got to go, or you've got to start doing what Goldner was doing. Unless that happens, I don't see. I think somebody's got to say something to him, or he's got to just be replaced with someone who can do what Goldner was doing. Because right now, it's showing in the product. It's showing that some things are kind of maybe slipping through the cracks. But again, maybe that has nothing to do with the designers. That has to do with all kinds of masters that they're having to serve. Man, I have to tell you, I am not one of those people that thinks corporate America is evil. I am one of those people who thinks if you're a great leader, you're going to run your business to the point where shareholders see money coming in, your people love working there, and things are just going to run very well when you're a great leader. In corporate America, if you're a great leader, game on. Your company's going to thrive. It's going to crush it. And if you're a crappy leader, it's not. And if you're a crappy leader, you've put yourself in a position where you have to answer to shareholders. And when you have to answer to shareholders and you have to make them a lot of money, the biggest cost to any huge company like that are the employees, or is the employees. And that's where the axe is going to fall. We look at the golden era of when a lot of these figures were made that were just awesome. I can just say that if I'm an employee at Hasbro, I'm looking for other work. And I'll be honest, if Lenny were to leave the G.I. Joe team, for instance, I'd probably stop collecting classified because it's such a good line under his stewardship. They already lost a great sculptor. if I'm Lenny, I'm thinking, I'm pretty good at my job. I wonder if NECA's hiring, or I wonder if McFarlane's hiring, or if, any of those guys, any of the marketing people. I don't like Hasbro as a corporation right now because of terrible leadership. I think it's horrendous what has become of Hasbro just these last few months. I guess what I would say, my recommendation for myself, if I have all kinds of money, I go in there and I buy the very best stuff, every line, every action figure line. I really don't need My Little Pony. Every line there is putting out just to show them, to say, here's what's up. I'm getting the good stuff. And I would hope that a lot of other people have decided, you know what? I'm only buying the really good stuff. So suddenly they start to go, oh crap, we need to make really good stuff. And they can go to Disney and say, guys, here's what's up. You need to start making content that people love again, because right now, us having to do this stuff at your orders is costing us money. Leave your thoughts in the comments below. Let's get a conversation going. And until next time, folks, I guess that's it. So have fun and happy snapping. See ya.